I hope you enjoyed our play. Regeneration, the Tucson Story was presented by a talented group of young people who not only acted in the play, but acted as the production crew. Join us as we discuss what we learned from our play in our Q&A.
Hello, I am Itzel. I play the character Drew as well as the Johnson actor. Let me introduce you to Andrew.
My name is Andrew. I play the role of Alex in the show, and I also helped with the Twitter page.
Let's get to know Tiara.
Hi, my name is Tiara, and I play Hashan in the Regeneration play.
And our very own soundtrack creator, Red.
So, my name's Red. I created a song for Regeneration, the Tucson Story, called Our World.
And I'm Jana. I'm the writer-director. Okay.
Well, so first and foremost, Jana, what inspired you to create this play?
Well, I've lived in Tucson for about 25 years. I raised my kids here. And when they were little, we used to go every day to the swimming pool during the summer, but we'd always have to wait for the monsoon rains to pass. But what I noticed is that there's not as many monsoon rains anymore. And I do a lot of gardening, so I saw the effect of like the gardening, the lack of water on my garden. So I like to think of myself as a little bit of a citizen scientist, seeing what low water plants that we can do. So I was really concerned that my kids would not have water in the future. So I learned everything I could about sustainability, and I learned about rainwater harvesting. My husband went to the Homescape Harvest Tour that Watershed Management Group put on, and he saw all these amazing yards that were using rainwater harvesting, cisterns and catchment basins, and we were just blown away. The Living Lab at Watershed Management Group uses no city water, and they water it's just like this oasis in the desert. And there's even edible trees, there's even orange trees, which take quite a lot of water, and they're using no city water. So to me, that was like so hopeful. It was like a solution of something we could do to be water secure in the future. So I started writing about it on Sustainable Living Tucson and learning everything I could about that and about fighting climate change for the last 7 years. But what I found out was that I was just preaching to the choir. The same people all the time were reading, my blogs and participating. And there's enough water for everybody in Tucson if we all harvest the rain, but nobody knows about it. So how do I reach more people outside of my little Facebook bubble of influence? So anyway, I wrote this play to reach out to a new audience, including teens. So I'm really excited to be working with this group of talented and hardworking teens. But, does that answer your question?
Definitely.
So should we go on to our next question?
Let's do it.
Is it my turn since you asked the question?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to ask this to each of you.
Okay.
So I want to know what you guys learned about rainwater harvesting or regenerative gardening from being in the play. Itzel?
Well, I came into this production practically knowing nothing about it, so I learned quite a lot. But I think the biggest thing that I took away from it was how much of a change it could make. Like, I imagined it being something more like of a hippie weed lady would do, just, to save the planet, but it has such an impact if we actually started implying what I learned here to real life.
Okay, but she didn't say what she learned, but we'll get back to her. Tiara?
I learned that you could catch the rainwater in these basins, shallow basins, and it'll water anything around it, surrounding plants, grasses, trees. And that to make sure if you do a catchment basin to have your tree on the higher end of it so you don't get a root rot, and everything will be okay.
Good job. Okay, Andrew, did you learn anything?
I actually learned quite a lot. So like Eat Sell, I kind of came into this production knowing barely anything. Like I don't really garden all that much. So like I didn't really know what like a catchment basin was before we did this, or like I didn't know you could harvest rainwater, to be completely honest. Like I thought it was just like monsoons just happened and that was it. Like you could get your plants in the garden watered, but I didn't know that you could harvest it. And like that was super interesting and eye-opening. And now I kind of want to start a garden in my backyard. So
I love that. So Red, we've been talking about a lot of rainwater harvesting stuff. Did you pick up anything tonight in our discussion?
Well, one thing that catching basin, I had no idea that was, I knew that was the thing, but I didn't know what it was called. And I didn't know that also the root has to be on top because it will get root rot. And another thing I did not know, exactly what Andrew and Itzel said, that, you know, started this not knowing really anything much about it. And I did learn that our trees actually protect us from flooding. I had no idea that was that, you know, I just had a feeling. I just knew, you know, we got monsoons, but I didn't know that, you know, trees actually stopped it from getting more flooded than usual. I knew we were in a drought. I didn't know we're in a 20-year drought though.
So Itzel, you said you learned some stuff. You want to mention one thing you learned by doing this production?
Yes, I cut myself short because there's outside noises coming in.
I understand.
One of the things I learned was how old water harvesting really is. It's not a new thing, and I didn't know how many people like the TO community used versions of it that we kind of like shifted to.
Cool. So can somebody tell me what did you learn that the TO did that like actually impacted the rainwater harvesting that we do today?
I'm waiting on someone. I don't know.
I know.
I'm here to learn too. I'm here to learn.
So it's the auction gardening. It's so like it's like basically like the simplified dam. It just like stops water and it like lets it sink in and then like flow.
Close. So the rock dams are a different thing. So auction gardening, Kira, take it over. Take it away.
Auction gardening. It's where they planted their their plants along the Santa Cruz River, and so when the water came through, it would like sink into all the sides and get water. Get water to the plants that are along that river, and it basically just would slow down the water and just let it sink, like spread out.
Spread out. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah. So what is the rainwater harvesting concept that is inspired by auction gardening?
What is it?
Regenerative gardening.
Red,
Sign language, guys.
red flat. Let's sink in. Okay.
Stop the water and spread it out.
Oh, so that actually spread it out. Yeah.
Spread it out.
So we slow it down so that it doesn't cause erosion. Right. Oh, wow. I can't stop teaching. Sorry, guys.
The teacher.
We're
The
learning.
teacher.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you guys know, we didn't talk about it earlier, but what is a cistern?
Sister.
That wasn't a scene that you guys were in. So it's been a while since you saw that. So it's a rain barrel, right? And people use the gutters of their house and downspouts, and the water goes into a big rain barrel. And the point of that is so that you can have water during the times that we don't have the winter or the monsoon rains. So it actually extends that season so that if you wanted to have a garden, and in the winter here, of course, you know, is a great time to garden here in Tucson. So it will just extend. We have cisterns we need to hook up in our yard. So we're hoarding cisterns because Dan hasn't had time to put them in, bad us. But we have smaller rain barrels. And so whenever it rains, you know, I have to go out and empty them right away so that I'll go and water whatever's in the yard because they'll fill up in the next rain. So it's going to rain again tomorrow. I better go empty that out because it's not a big cistern. A big cistern, you know, can hold a lot of water, but still you need to use it. You need not to hoard it, you know, like we hoard cisterns. But anyway, so that's a cistern. It's a big rain barrel. But I realize you guys, that's not the scene you guys were in that you guys recorded lots of times. But yeah, so something new. Okay, so who has another question tonight?
Doing this play, did you have any trouble in a way like writing it? When you were thinking about it, did you rewrite your scripts or did you rewrite your play? You know, how did you ever mess up? That's what I'm trying to ask. Did you mess up on anything, or was it you already knew exactly what you're gonna write?
You want to know my challenges of writing this play?
Yes.
Okay, so it was tough because, you know, I was writing about cultures that I wasn't a part of. So I had to do a lot of research on the Pahana-Atham, you know, and even, you know, the Latinx characters in South Tucson. And I was concerned that my language wouldn't be authentic. And so I actually reached out to a high school teacher who said that her students would read it to see if my dialogue was authentic. But she said she would do it as soon as they got home from spring break. And then COVID happened and they never got back to school from spring break. So I never got that feedback. But so I'm like, I had to do a leap of faith. I had to just like, I'm going to write this. I'm going to do as much research as I can on YouTube or, you know, reading every book that I can find for, you know, about the Pahana-Atham. I found very few books on like, you know, anything about South Tucson. So that was actually pretty tough. But so I just did all the research, and the research I used in the play, I think Kiera probably can see the, you know, way I used the research for the Pahana-Atham. But then it was a leap of faith. And so I cast the play, and sometimes the, you know, the actors are improving the lines. And I also have my friend who lives in South Tucson go over the gang language, and so that it would be more authentic. And then Victor, I don't know if you guys know who Victor is, but Victor plays Ramon. He really loves to improv. Anyway, sometimes it's a little crazy, but anyway, so not every single one of those lines did I write. But anyway, so that's a research. The other thing about sustainability, that was easy for me because I've been doing research and writing a blog, Sustainable Living Tucson, for like 7 years. So that was really easy. Maybe I put too much of it in there. Maybe that's a challenge. But yeah, that part was easy. It was really the cultural things. So that brings up a question that comes to mind. I was wondering if you guys learned anything about Pahana-Atham culture from the play or by working with Kiera. That was a surprise one. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I was gonna say that's your guys' question.
I don't know. Most of the scenes I was in didn't really focus on a lot of the Tana Anthem stuff, but I think it definitely like learning more stuff about like what the Tana Anthem did for like regenerative gardening and stuff like that. So like the auction stuff, and then that's mainly it. I think that's the only thing that went over in my scenes. But that was really interesting to figure out because I didn't know anything about that.
Itzel, you were in that scene where she comes and Tira has a very dramatic scene that I was really proud of her for doing and going
It was
full
really great
out.
scene.
But actually Eddie says something about why Tira is so upset during that scene where they hurt Grandma Hashan. Does anybody remember what that is?
I remember now. Yeah.
The TOC Saguaros as like their family and people.
Yep. So Tira, did you think that did I nail it?
You did good. I mean, that was it. That's how we see them as relatives, and yeah, we respect the Hashans. We respect every living, breathing thing on the reservation and everywhere else.
Yeah, when we were rehearsing, we did the one scene where she's out in the desert by herself, and I was like, just even the rehearsal, she just like knew how to do it, even though she never read it before, and because she related to it. You remember that, Tira?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that scene.
And so yeah, I lucked out finding Tira because Tira was there. Like if I had doubts about anything, to reassure me or to, tell me no. Anyway, so I would run certain things by. There's a story in there that talks about the coyote, and I was afraid that I found out at a storytelling event that you shouldn't tell that story in certain seasons, and so I kind of ran that by. What is it with the coyote, Kira?
Just that we do our storytellings in the winter with like the main, the coyote, the buzzard. I forget why, but it's just how we were taught to do.
And I heard it was disrespectful to have the coyote during season, to tell the stories that weren't in winter. So I actually took the coyote out of the story. So that was one of the things that, I ran by Kiera. And, I didn't want to be disrespectful at all. I wanted to treat each of these cultures with respect. So Andrew and Itzel, did you feel that I treated the Latinx community all right?
I think it was okay. I think it was fine. I think it was executed very well.
Thanks. You guys remember a little controversy we had at the beginning of the play?
I do, yeah.
I was pretty upset because I did some lazy writing. Sometimes when you're a writer, you put kind of a place saver where you go ahead and write the scene and it's not the way you want it, but you just leave it because you're stuck on it and you want to go on,
Yeah.
right? And I did that with the woman Birdie, the character of Birdie, and so I hadn't rewritten it. And so anyway, I wanted to make it a Black character and just to give another role to a Black actress. And anyway, and it was poorly written. And so there was some discussion about whether it was racist. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that? And so I was really thankful to have you guys there to ask, to ask about that. And I actually cast it with a white character because I didn't want, this crazy woman to be the one depiction of a Black character. Also, that brought up the idea. Somebody told me that it seemed like a lot of the characters the ones that had the knowledge were all white. Which, though I don't think it's true, because who saves the day? Rogelio and and Kiera, they saved the day actually in the end. But that like the woman in the garden and Crazy Weed Lady are white. So I actually changed the casting because of that. So it was really upsetting. I was almost going to cancel the production because, I didn't want anybody to think I was being racist. But yeah, so that's how I handled it, is that I recast that character, both of those characters. So the crazy woman being white and the gardener being Latina, so that she was an expert, So did anybody else have another question?
Oh, I have a question for the cast members. What was your guys' challenge? I did read that maybe I think it was Tira, right? Tira, that, or even Itzel, that you guys didn't know how to act. Like you guys just kind of came in.
Oh,
If I'm correct, if I read it
didn't
with
know
you,
that.
right? Yeah. So I read that that you came in not knowing how to act, and you said that you were willing to do it. And what was for everybody actually? What was your guys' challenge in acting if you guys never acted before? Because it's a whole different thing.
Or was there a challenge if you already know how to acting? On
Yeah. If you knew how to act too, like if there was a challenge. And
who wants to go first?
Tiara, I think, was talking, so we'll let Tiara go.
Okay. Well, the challenge was like everything, because I was nervous and just didn't know how to act. But I just like gave it my best shot and just tried my best. And it was really helpful too, because Jana was giving me pointers and kind of coaching me too. And that was a really big help. I think that kind of bettered me, because she would go over it with me, tell me asking me how I feel about the scene, and to project my feelings on to that. And yeah, and then it was also nerve-wracking too when I did it with the actors. I mean, because I knew they had experience and I was like, just went in. But when I didn't really give my full effort the first time when I first recorded with everyone else. So I kind of had to get loose, I guess. But other than that, it got easier as we kept going on.
Actually, I used Andrew as an example that I don't think she knew that you could really be emotional. Even this is a reading, so we don't have to it's not like a full play where it's memorized and everything. But that Andrew, even during the auditions, he blew everybody away, because he was just even crying during the auditions. And so I told Tiara about that, and that freed her to do that super dramatic scene. We were just all blown away by that. Tiara,
I loved it.
Can you tell us what you were thinking, or how you got to be in a place that you could be that emotional in a scene?
Oh, I just how would I feel? Just like what you said to me, how would I feel if I seen that, or if I witnessed that? And it was really heartbreaking to think that someone would actually destroy a cactus, a hashan. And so I just thought about that and other sad things to make me more sad, and that's how it happened.
That's called method acting. So you guys, it's not the same acting on Zoom as in a play. So what were the challenges for you guys?
Guess I'll go first. So I know that for me it was really, really hard, because a couple of my scenes are more emotional than other ones. And at the beginning of the production, we were first starting to record, my internet was really bad. And so we'd be like going through this scene and be getting really emotional, and then like we'd either have to stop or like redo the entire scene because it's like completely off. So like the cadence of the scene didn't work. And it just like wasn't hitting home as hard as it could have. And I think that was really, really difficult because as it went, like as it just kept going along, we had to redo these scenes over and over and over. It kind of just like lost like a little bit of momentum for me because it was really hard to continue to do it like emotionally and get that perfect take like every single time.
Well, it was a little different than like if you're in a movie, they often do several takes.
Yeah.
We actually didn't do as many takes as you would do in a
Yeah.
might do in a movie, but when we were having issues, what the audience doesn't know is that we would have bandwidth issues, and it would just like blip, or people would go blurry, or we'd lose half of what they were saying, and that was it was very hard and very discouraging. Sometimes we would just like, well, do it again, you guys. Let's do it again. Maybe we'll get bandwidth this time. That was really, I would say that was one of my biggest challenges with doing that. Itzel, you haven't talked for a while. What are some things that you learned about doing a virtual production?
I mean, I wasn't completely new to virtual plays and stuff like that, but it, like Andrew was talking about, just the challenges of, like in a real play, you're all there, or if you're missing a character, the assistant will read for it, but you can't be all there fully. Like I'm lucky enough to not have like an overly emotional like scene like Tira and Andrew had, but sometimes it was like, I think it was one of my first auditions. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go all in, even though I'm like sitting in a bed with like a sheet behind me, and I'm gonna bite that orange. But then like after, you were like, I saw you moving a lot. That was good. It was really blocky. I think you have an internet issue. So I was like, no. And it was just a lot like losing momentum, like, oh, I'm supposed to be angry at this person, I'm gonna fight them, but then like it's the third time I'm supposedly fighting them, so I'm just like, I'm gonna fight them, yay.
Things you don't tell your director, huh? But I want to like compliment you guys on being so great at reacting off of each other. Acting is reacting. That was one of the first things that, you know, I said that we can do that on a virtual production. So we would have, you know, gallery view, and everybody could see it, and they could react off of the different people. But unfortunately, what I saw when I was recording and what the cast saw were two different things, because the people weren't in the positions that, you know, that I saw them in. So every time I would have to say, what did I say, you guys? Raise
Put
your
up our
right
right
hand.
hand.
Yeah, like, and then
Raise your
we
right
would just
hand.
have to.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Itzel, you're in the top right, and then I'm like, everybody look at Itzel. Everybody point at Itzel. You guys gonna show them how we did that? Okay, and
like,
so then they could respond after the person, and sometimes they had to look in the opposite direction where the people were.
Yeah, I just saw that right now.
And they were so good at it, though. They were so good at it. And another thing that they were good at is like using props. Like, you know, we learned that you can, like, you know, pass something off. So I could pass this pencil off to her, if you know where she's at. You could pass it off and you put it out of the frame, and then they could take it. And so that was a cute, fun little trick that they came up with themselves. So that was really awesome.
That's
so
cool.
so I feel like Red is sitting there, and thank you for participating and coming up with some great questions, Red. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about your inspiration. You wrote the song Our World, and what inspired that particular song? Why did you choose those? I don't know how to even say it. Those particular images and stuff like that that you use in the song.
Yeah, well, the title kind of like says it all, our world. And I just feel this world really has a lot of issues, problems, and climate change is one of them. And it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and there's days where I kind of just do my own thing, but I do think about, the weather is getting hotter, and so when I got a message from you, it was something different. And one, I took it as a challenge, and I really do like challenges, and that kind of makes me get inspired more, because whenever I get challenges, it's kind of like when I first started making music, and it kind of brings back that momentum and it feels good. So my inspiration just got more, but also the fact that like we are in, like I said earlier, I didn't know we were in a 20-year drought. I knew we were in a drought, but I didn't know 20-year, and it can keep going. This 20-year can turn 25, 26, 27, and keep going up. So, I mean, I've kind of knew that also, but when I wrote the lyrics, I had to kind of look back at time and remember that back then we actually had monsoon seasons, a lot more rain, and a lot more plants, a lot more animals. And I feel because of the drought, water, it's been very, very dry. And like I mentioned in the song, that like we know that our animals are used to the heat, but there's also not water, and they need to drink, so they can't find water, and due to the drought, so they're dying. And that can eventually happen to us. Like you said earlier too, houses with no AC, people are dying because of the heat. And now that COVID hit, places like the library that you mentioned also are not open. So all that kind of just came in the thought of writing a song, and it was easier for me to think of something because I look back at time and where we are now, and seeing how things really changed and no one has noticed. So it's really all just, like I said, back in the day things, little research, and then I saw that, wow, like no one is paying attention, but we really are drying up. It's gotten so much hotter.
So did you do any research? Because like I put a lot of stuff on the Regeneration, the Tucson Story website, and did you use that?
I read yours. Also, for me, when I write music, I don't want to sound very commercial, if that makes sense. So I didn't want to pretty much write exactly what you wrote on yours on the song, pretty much summarizing what you said. I did use some parts, and I got what you said, but I try to make it in my words, in that way, because like I said, I don't like sounding commercial and making it sound like a song that will like specifically for a commercial. I wanted to actually sound like authentic, and in a way that it came out of me too, not just reading off of what everyone says, pretty much getting their words and making it sound right, in the song. So I did read yours, and I also did some research, so I can at least get some thoughts and see where we're at, because like I said, back then I knew, it was drying up, but I don't know exactly everything that's going on right now in 2021. So it's kind of made it a little easier for me to think of things.
Yeah, I was wondering when you did that, you actually wrote it quite fast. I really love your song, and I want to thank you for making that for our special event.
Yeah, of course.
And so anybody else have any questions that they want to ask for this group?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so I'm going to end this by like asking one last question. Okay, so if you remember that I had asked you guys this question when I needed your bios, so I was wondering, like, why you joined this production? Why this project?
I'll go first. Something different for me, because as you mentioned in the bios, and you mentioned in the blog that I really, to like honestly, I didn't write any music about this type of stuff. It was more like political or stuff that, you know, that's happened in the summer, with the police brutality. I like writing about stuff like that. But when you told me about this, I thought, you know, it was something different. So it inspired me because, like I said, now that I think about it, you know, a little more, we really are in a drought. So you also gave me a challenge. And like I said, I really do enjoy challenges. And yeah, I wrote the song actually pretty fast too. And yeah, and because I wanted to, you know, make it pretty much impress everybody, and show, you know, I don't want to let you guys down type of thing, you know. And I feel that also inspired, and I really did want to be in this because it takes me out of my comfort zone, something that I don't do really, and I also want to learn more now that I got into it, and maybe in the future be a little more educated in it, so I can, you know, speak better and know what to say and answer questions. And so you just gave me a different perspective of, you know, that I can just not write about my things, write more also about stuff that is going on Earth, you know, the world where we live in. Take care of our Earth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So who's next?
I'll go next if you want me to.
Okay.
So I know that I joined this production because, like, when I went to the auditions, and then, like, when I read the script and everything, there was, like, a majority of it was like colored people. Like, it was people of color, and I going to, like, a primarily white high school, I never really was in a show with that many POC, and so it was just like something like really cool to finally be able to, like, be with people like that identified as Latinx like I do. And it was just really cool because we could get people from Tucson and from Phoenix and from I think LA, right? And like even out of the country, like we did stuff with people out of the country, and that was really cool. And it was like Red said, it was just something different, and it just really, like, opened my eyes to a lot of issues about like water conservation and just specifically like regenerative gardening.
Cool. Who's next? Yeah.
Okay. I liked what you had in the play, and I've never like really learned anything about gardening or rainwater harvesting or anything. I just had a little bit of knowledge, but when I read the play, it was really interesting, and I learned quite a lot, but that I don't see around here. Just because that people don't pay attention to the climate change, and we're slowly getting the resources of you know, gardening, planting down here. So I really liked what you had in the play.
Where's down here?
Oh, on the reservation.
Thank you. Itzel?
Kind of like everyone was saying, the play really included a lot of things that I cared about, including like climate change, and it's a really big issue that it's easier to like not pay mind to it because you can ignore it, but it's still there and it's getting worse, and it's one day you won't be able to ignore it. And I really like how it talks about it, and how it Tiara said it's very informative. I learned a lot of things by being part of this production. And also, as Andrew was talking about, I really like how diverse the characters and the actors were. We were in the same high school theater class, and I can tell you, anytime there was a Hispanic character, I got the part because there was 2 people in the class that were Hispanic. And it's great to be like part of a production where like there's so many people from Tucson and outside of Tucson. It just brings together things I care about, and that's great.
Thank you. And one of the things that I truly believe is that we can all use our talents, you know, to make Tucson a better place to live, and so that we can all thrive into the future. And so like the murals that you were talking about, us putting on the play, Red doing this song, the Sky Island art students also did the pictures tonight. And so I was really excited to get them on board. We can use all of our talents to spread the word about sustainable solutions. Thank you guys. I think that that was a really good talk. And for you out there, you want to learn more about rainwater harvesting, I suggest you take a rebate class at Watershed Management Group or SERI and learn all about rainwater harvesting, or to do a living lab tour that inspired this project in the first place. Or you can read my website, Sustainable Living Tucson. I've got all kinds of stuff about like climate change and sustainable solutions and rainwater harvesting. Anyway, thank you for coming tonight and joining us for this event that was very important to us. We worked really hard on it, and we're so glad that you could come.
Thank you guys.